Hey guys, and welcome to Smite Tactics Closed Beta. My name is Jaggerus, and today I'm continuing my beginner deck updated series with the Chinese Pantheon. And the Chinese Pantheon was a little bit of a harder one to build a deck for, simply because of the spell changes in the previous patch. If you haven't, heard about that, do check out my Closed Beta 5 patch video. But effectively, what happened was they took all of the spells out of the neutral pool and assigned them to different pantheons. But Chinese didn't actually get given any of the neutral spells. So they just got removed from the pool available to Chinese. And there were a lot of, free neutral spells, which now Chinese doesn't have access to. What that means is that this deck is a little bit, more expensive than my standard beginner deck. We have 6 white cards and 2 blue cards. Those blue cards are Imperial Archers. You do get one of these for free by completing the Chinese campaign tutorial, so make sure you do that and you'll get an Imperial Archer for free. Then we also need 2 Emperor's Prize, which is actually a nice card. It gives you, really nice options for card draw. We have a couple Transfusions, which again synergize quite nicely with some of the cards in this deck. We'll get onto that in a second. And we have a couple Scion of Dooms. And Scion of Dooms you'll have seen also in my beginner Greek video. This is a really good card at the moment, and definitely something to craft for, any deck. Really, it fits into every pantheon quite nicely. So this deck, you'll notice, like, a lot of kind of fairly cheap cards. This is kind of like a more early to mid-game centric deck. The card draw allows us to, play multiple cards later on in the game if we have some minions out. But all in all, fairly more early to mid-game focused than late game. Nuwa, her leader ability spawns a stealth cloud in a target area. So units in stealth can't be targeted unless there is an adjacent enemy to them. So, this is an option for like protecting your units, basically. And it costs 2 mana to do. Now, we have a lot of spell cards because spell cards synergize with Emperor's Prize. Not Emperor's Prize, Imperial Archer. Imperial Archer, whenever you play a spell card, deal 1 damage to a random enemy. So you can play out your Imperial Archer, and then you can play your spells, which are useful, but they also then trigger some extra damage, which is nice for clear, and also for trying to whittle away the health of the enemy leader. So, what have we got in here? Well, we've got 2 Crescent Blades, deal 1 damage to a non-leader enemy. This is a free card, and combined with Nua's ranged attack, that's 2 damage in 1 turn, so it's quite good for, taking out some of the more problematic 2 health units. You can kind of combo those together for some clear. Similarly, we have Fire Imp. Fire Imp is a 2/1 with charge, which means it can move and attack on the turn that it's played. So this basically is like a minion version of Sunder. Sunder was previously a neutral card, is now an Egyptian card that deals 2 damage and costs 1 mana. This is like a minion version, and it's a really nice card to have in decks just to give you a little bit of kind of clear or ways to deal with problems or even ways to deal damage. Then we have Jade Boon. Give a non-leader friendly +1/+0 at the start of every turn. So a unit gains +1 attack at the start of every turn, which is actually quite nice when you have, some high health units, such as the Chang'e. At the start of your turn, heal all adjacent friendlies for 1. So she has an AoE heal, and on top of that, she has 5 base health. So as you start to add damage to her with Jade Boon each turn, she's getting stronger and stronger, and then suddenly she can attack, she's ranged, she's got 3 mobility, it's nice. Another optional target for the Jade Boon is the White Tiger. Beast, at the start of your turn, gain +1 health. So each turn he's gaining +1 health. If you add Jade Boon to him, it also means he gains +1 damage every turn. And he quickly becomes a problem if the enemy can't deal with him and can't remove him. We have Scion of Doom, like I said, really good card. Warcry, give a friendly +2 attack this turn. This includes your leader, so you can actually give yourself +2 attack. So with the ranged leader Chang'e, it's quite nice. And it also leaves behind a 1/2 ranged unit on the board, so you can't really complain about that. For 2 cost, it's just really strong. Transfusion, set target non-leader's attack equal to its health. So for example, you could give Chang'e 5 damage. She's got 5 health. If you transfusion a Chang'e, you suddenly have a 5/5 unit on the board. If you transfusion a White Tiger, it could be a 3/3, it could be a 4/4. It really depends, what his health is on. But really put some damage on these cards that maybe don't have as much strength, but still have good health pools. Then we have our Doom Speaker. Doom Speaker, we just got one of these, and this is just a 3/4 minion. It's just a, a generally strong minion for 3 mana cost, and it's quite nice. Easy one to just play out and have on the board. We also have Chaos Spawn, which is a 2/3, but comes with the Warcry Silence a non-leader enemy. And you can use this to silence so many things. Like, you can use it to stop Chang'e's heal. You can use it to remove Jade Boon. For Greek guard units, you can use it to stop guard. Like, there's so many different things that silence can be used against that it's a pretty nice option to have on a card. Then we have 2 Emperor's Prizes. Emperor's Prizes I think you need in this deck simply because of the low cost of the cards. Because we're running, relatively cheap cards or free cards, you need an option for card draw because you don't really have any kind of later game option. So later game, maybe we can play Emperor's Prize. And you draw a card for every friendly in play, including your leader. So if you've got, you know, your leader in one friendly, that's 2 cards. If you've got a leader in 2 friendlies, that's 3 cards. And it can quickly, you know, become quite worthwhile for 3 mana to get quite a few cards in hand. Then we have Habois. Habois is a 3/1 unit where the Warcry returns a target enemy to your owner's hand. And this is quite annoying because basically what you're doing is you're removing a unit from the board and putting it back in their hand, which means they have to play it again if they want to attack with it. The other thing is it then leaves a 3/1 body behind, and it's a 3/1 ranged body, so he's a bit of a pain to deal with because if anyone attacks him, they're going to take 3 damage in return. So again, quite a potent character. We've got our Imperial Archer, as I mentioned before, which synergize with our spells. You play a spell, you deal damage. And we also have a couple of Stone Guardians Beast. At the start of your turn, this unit gains +1 range. So each turn, this guy's getting more and more range. So if you can keep him on the board, you can basically leave him in a corner and attack someone who's on the opposite side of the map. And if your unit outranges your opponent's unit, the opponent's unit won't retaliate. So you can actually use him to deal damage to ranged units without taking return damage, which is pretty nice. Anyway, without further ado, let's jump into a game and I'll showcase this beginner Chinese deck in action. Okay, so we've queued into Greek and Poseidon. In terms of our cards here, we have Transfusion in hand, which is nice, but, you know, without a target to target, it's not that useful. Scion of Doom is a little bit expensive for early on, so we'll also mulligan that, but we'll keep hold of the Scion of Doom. We got a Fire Imp, a Crescent Blade, and a Habois. So, you know, actually a pretty nice mulligan. We have options for early on to just deal some damage. Similarly, we have options just for returning his units and clearing them. What we're actually going to do here, I don't really want to play Scion of Doom yet, even though I could use it to, you know, deal more damage to him. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit him in the face. He's actually melee, so he can't hit me back. We'll then also spawn smoke here on top of ourselves, and we'll end our turn. So you can see he's come forward here. Now, because of these diagonal rocks, what often happens is people will stand in between them, and then they'll spawn a unit behind them and diagonal, because then it's much harder for you to target that unit. Especially with kind of melee options. He's got a Basilisk out. We can actually use the Crescent Blade and an auto attack from Noir to deal with the Basilisk without even spending, you know, any mana. So then we'd have 3 mana remaining to kind of make a choice in terms of what we want to do and what we want to play. All in all, though, you know, this is fairly fine. We just got to wait for our enemy to end his turn. Sometimes people like drag it out, and sometimes people just forget. Like I often forget to click end turn, even though there's nothing left that I can do. And I think this does happen. I wonder if he'll realize. Some players just do this, though. Some players are like, I'm just going to waste your time. And it's kind of a shame, but it is what it is. Now, Poseidon, his leader ability, he deals 1 damage in target's area. So he picks a square and deals 1 damage to it. So it's kind of like a Crescent Blade, but it also costs him mana. But on the next turn, it will deal an additional 1 damage. So you kind of make a dot that you don't want people to stand on. So you can kind of use this to try and encourage people to, you know, reposition themselves. And that can be an option for you. But ultimately, I often think that the Greek god is better. So I often feel like, what is his name? Zeus. Zeus is better because Zeus's ability is to draw a card, and being able to draw a card is always nice. Unfortunately for us, we don't have, you know, a whole lot of options in terms of what we play here. We could play Scion of Doom, but we've already used our auto attack. So what we're just going to do is, you know, spawn up some more smoke. And then end our turn. And this actually forces Poseidon to move out of this diagonal if he wants to hit us, which I think that he does. He spawned up a Brontes. Brontes, it gains +1 whenever he plays a god. But we can actually always Habois the Brontes back into his hand. Alternatively, we could Scion of Doom ourselves and then just take out the Brontes. The thing is, because this is melee, we don't really want to stand here, which means we can't utilize this kind of diagonal. But what we can do is we can just move 1 square away, put out the Scion of Doom on ourselves, hit the Brontes, so then kill it, and then play out our White Tiger as well to also block and protect our Scion of Doom. And now we have quite a few units on the board, which is nice then if we draw our Emperor's Prize, because then we can, you know, draw a lot of cards. We've also got Jade Boon that we can, well, we could have played on the White Tiger, except the White Tiger is now dead. So you can see Scion of Doom is coming out there. And then the leader ability as well. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to reposition our units a little bit. I'm going to move myself to here. And I'm going to move my my unit on the Whirlpool to here. I'm going to actually attack Poseidon. I could attack the Scion, but ultimately, you know, I think it's fine without him. We'll summon up our Chang'e. and we'll play the Jade Boon on the Chang'e. We could play the Fire Imp here and clear up this ranged unit. And that actually might be a good play just to kind of whittle, you know, stop him from having so much damage. We're going to get healed by the Chang'e, so this is nice. But ultimately, I think it's fine just to... We'll use our auto attack here, and we'll hit that ranged unit. And then we'll end our turn, I think, and hold off on the Fire Imp until there's maybe something a little bit more problematic on the board. The Chang'e with Jade Boon is really nice, because she's going to start to gain damage as the game goes on. And she's also a tough card to kind of deal with. So that's quite nice for us. You can see there he did get free damage out with this unit, but he's kind of realized that she's going to be a bit of a problem. And you can see he's definitely trying to deal with her here. She's down to 1 health, which is a shame. So then we don't see the Scion of Doom. But he spent that entire turn kind of dealing with her, and that's kind of a big deal for us. We then also have our Stone Guardian, and he's going to be gaining range, you know, as the game goes on. So that's really nice. We'll pop him out here where he can't easily be targeted. And we can actually always use our smoke or our fog on him in order to just deal with him. I think what we'll do is we'll trade with this Scion of Doom just to kind of get rid of it. We'll then use Poseidon as well. Or we'll just hit Poseidon for free. We'll put out our smoke. And we will end our turn. And you can see here we're still using our mana even though, you know, we were more kind of early to late game focused. I think this is good. And this guy, he's going to be getting range each turn. Which is really nice. And because of how I've positioned him, he can't actually target him unless he's next to him. Oh my god, he got so lucky with his Beacon of Hope there. He got a Medusa. He got a Medusa. Come on, game. That is unfortunate. We can put it in his hand. That's one of the ways we can choose to deal with it. I'm just trying to think what else we could do. Deal 1 damage to a non-leader enemy. She's got 5 health. I think we have to Habois the Medusa and put it back into his hand. And just kind of get rid of it. That is what we're gonna have to do here. We still have, you know, 4 mana remaining. So I think what we'll do, we don't really have a lot of options. We can smoke, so we may as well play the smoke here. You know, just keeping him safe. We'll use me to take out this unit here. I could have used my Crescent Blade, but it's not really worth it. We want to keep the Crescent Blade for when he inevitably plays that Medusa. Then we have, you know, a little bit of damage in hand. We'll hit this guy. We'll hit him again with our range unit. And we will end our turn. But you can see here we do have, you know, minion advantage. And if we do draw that Emperor's Prize, we'll draw 4 cards and still have 5 mana remaining. Which is really nice. He used his leader ability there on the Habois, so he's gone. And then he spawned a Chaos Spawn and silenced our Stone Guardian, so he's not going to be gaining any more ranged. But ultimately, you know, that's not a huge use of the silence. And I'm surprised he didn't play the what is she called? Chang'e. So what we can actually do here is we can move away and clear this unit, but you know, he's down to 9 health. I'm just trying to work out how much damage we have in hand. We have 3, 4, 5. Imperial Archer doesn't deal damage, but we can deal damage with this. Potentially 6, 7, 8. So quite a bit of damage in hand, but I think for now, we're probably better maintaining, you know, control of the map as things currently stand. So what I'll do here is I'll move me back and just take out this unit. Because I can always use the Stone Guardian later on. We can spawn our Imperial Archer here. So that's that on the board. And we can actually smoke both of these, keeping them nice and safe. Then we can hit this Poseidon in the face. He's down to 7. And again, I'm going to hold on to my Fire Imp and my Crescent Blade for now. Because I think, you know, these are more useful later on when he starts to summon some of the bigger Greek units. Which should be about to happen. But you can kind of see here, you've got a lot of small minions, but it allows you to have control and, you know, deal a little bit of damage, which is nice. And you can see he's trying to protect himself. This guard unit is actually going to be quite problematic for us because she has 7 health. So she's kind of going to be quite tough to clear. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have enough damage to kill her, but it's going to be a little, like I said, a little tricky. Let's have a look. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we actually have 7 damage in hand. And then we can clear the Nemesis with the Crescent Blade and the Fire Imp. So I think what we'll do is we'll Jade Boon our guy here. We'll range attack this one. There's one. And again. And again. And again. And it's just really unfortunate we're not seeing our Emperor's prizes here, because, you know, we do have a lot of units on the board. We will Crescent Blade. Actually, no, we may as well Fire Imp. We'll Fire Imp the Nemesis. And then we'll Crescent Blade it. And that actually causes our then 1 damage to be dealt from the Imperial Archer onto this Poseidon. We'll make sure to put these 2 in the smoke. And we'll end our turn. And you can see here, he's now down to 5 health. And we still have these 4 units on the board. And they're still blocked. These guys are still blocked with these 2 units. So you can see positioning here, really, really important. He's used Protect there, so this guy is now protected by 1. What this means is that he'll take 1 less damage from every hit, which means we can hit him with this guy for 3, but this guy will only deal 1 damage. Fortunately for ourselves, though, we have Scion of Doom, so we'll pop Scion of Doom onto our Stone Guardian, and we will take out the leader, like so. And you can see, even though that game actually went on quite long, we managed to have, you know, enough small minions and clear to actually deal with their units. And like I say, once you get to the late game, it's a bit harder, but usually, you know, you manage to find Emperor's Prize, so you can draw a few cards, and then things are a little bit better. I will say I think that Chinese is the hardest Pantheon to play as a beginner deck, just because you're kind of limited in the item and stuff that you have if you're trying to be cheap. And there are some really good, strong Chinese cards. They're just not free cards. For example, you know, you've got, first and foremost, I guess we'll start with their legendaries, which are both insane. Dragon King deals 3 damage to a target enemy, and then 3 damage to all enemies on the same row. And you can actually use this to target the leader, for example. Bear in mind, that target takes 3 damage, and then because it's on the row, it takes another 3 damage. So basically it does 6 damage to a single target, and 3 damage to everything else on the row. Similarly, Sun Wukong is a 6/7, but he can discover an animal form. One of those gives him 2 damage, making him an 8/7. One of those gives him extra mobility and all your other cards, and one of them, I believe, gives him a cleave or bounce attack. But again, it's a pretty strong card. You know, if we have a look at what else is in here, you've got a whole bunch of different options. You can maybe run Imperial Guard. You could run Oogway. At the start of your turn, he gains +1/+1, and he's a 4/4. You've got Rushing Thunder, which is really nice for dealing with lots of, you know, small units, which often you see in Norse. If you want clear, you know, projection, select a friendly god or minion and deal its attack as direct damage to a non-leader enemy. So you could combine this with something like a Transfusion Chang'e or an Oogway, and then you've got like targeted damage of 4, for example. Similarly, you know, you've got options like Recall, which does the same thing as Habois. You've got Clay Soldier, which is a 0/2, deal a total of 5 random damage to all adjacent enemies. And you can actually target your own Clay Soldier, so you can play down the Clay Soldier, then hit it with your leader and another unit, kill it, and then do 5 AoE damage. So there are, like, options in the Chinese Pantheon. I just think that in terms of a beginner deck, it's pretty tough to play. But this one, you know, we saw it succeed there. And he had Enyo, for example. Enyo was a legendary, Norse, not Norse, sorry, Greek card. We saw Medusa show up, another legendary, and we managed to win without them. So I don't think you necessarily need legendaries to win. You just kind of have to understand the positioning of your units and maybe the potential card that your opponent could play. But yeah, this has been Beginner Chinese, and I've been Jaggerous, and if you've liked this video, do hit that thumbs up button, guys. We'll have more beginner decks to come, as well as more advanced decks in the future. Beyond that, you can find me live streaming at twitch.tv/Jaggerous, and you can follow me on Twitter at Jaggerous. Have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching, and I'll hopefully catch you guys in the next video.